All right, let's head out to sea. We're going to the open ocean, a place where help could be days, maybe even weeks away, and the environment itself is one of the most unforgiving on the planet. We're going to pull back the curtain on an incredible, invisible system that's designed to fight what is without a doubt every sailor's single worst nightmare.
So what do you think it is? I mean, what's the one thing that truly terrifies people out there? It's not a massive storm, and it's not a catastrophic engine failure, as awful as both of those are. No, the real answer is something much more primal, much more immediate.
Fire. Just think about that. You're on a ship, basically a floating steel box, surrounded by thousands of miles of water. It's packed with fuel, cargo, and all sorts of machinery. And when a fire breaks out, there is literally nowhere to run. The only thing standing between the crew and total disaster is the equipment they have on board and the meticulous procedures for keeping it ready.
Okay, so here's our roadmap for this explainer. To really get how the maritime world tackles this threat, we're going to first look at the global playbook that everyone has to follow. Then, we'll dive into the rhythm of constant checks, the super detailed annual inspections, and the major overhauls that happen over decades. And finally, we'll see how all of this comes together to create a true culture of safety.
You have to understand, a fire on one ship isn't just a problem for that ship. It's a threat to the entire global shipping network. And that's exactly why safety is never, ever left to chance or to individual companies. It's all governed by a single, unified, international set of rules, a global safety playbook.
And the bedrock of this whole system is something called the SOLAS Convention. It stands for Safety of Life at Sea, and it's this huge international treaty that lays out the absolute minimum safety standards for ships. It's what ensures that a vessel sailing out of Shanghai has to meet the same fundamental safety rules as one leaving from Rotterdam.
And within that massive SOLAS framework, we're going to zoom way in on one very specific part of the playbook. It's a guideline from the International Maritime Organization known as MSC.1 Circ 1432. You can think of this as the master guide, the rulebook for how you maintain and inspect the fire protection systems that actually save lives.
Now this sentence right here, this is the core principle. This is the whole ball game. Every single check, every test, every procedure we're about to talk about, it's all designed to achieve this one simple but absolutely critical goal. Everything has to work perfectly and instantly the moment you need it most. No excuses.
So how do you make sure that happens? How do you guarantee that readiness? Well, it all starts with a constant rhythm, like a steady heartbeat of routine checks that are actually performed by the crew themselves. This is the absolute first line of defense.
And this is what that heartbeat looks like. We're talking about the fundamentals. Every single week, a crew member is checking that the little lights on the fire alarm panel actually work. They're looking at the pressure gauges on breathing gear. Then, every month, they're firing up the fire pumps for a moment, just to know they'll kick on. They're opening up the firefighters' lockers to make sure every single piece of gear is exactly where it should be. It's these simple, repeatable actions that build this incredible foundation of constant vigilance.
Now, building on top of those routine checks, you get the next layer, the annual inspection. Once a year, the ship goes through what is basically a complete physical. And this goes way beyond the crew's regular checks. This is about putting the systems under real stress to make sure they don't just work, but that they perform exactly as they were designed to. And this slide right here perfectly illustrates that difference. Look, in the monthly check, you just flick the pump on to see that it makes pressure. Simple enough. But during the annual test? Oh no, you do a full flow test. You're not just asking, hey, does it turn on? You're asking, can this pump deliver the massive volume of water at the exact right pressure needed to fight a major fire? See the difference? It's a test of capability, not just function.
And that annual inspection is unbelievably thorough. We're talking about testing the emergency power sources, pressure testing fire hoses to find any weak spots, and making sure that critical safety systems, like the fuel shutoffs, actually work when a fire alarm triggers them. They even inspect the galley's exhaust ducts for grease buildup. Why? Because a fire in a grease-caked duct can rip through a ship's ventilation system in seconds. It's like a lit fuse. This whole process is about finding deadly problems before they become disasters.
But here's the thing. Even that intense annual testing isn't quite enough to guarantee safety over the entire life of a ship, which can be decades long. So the final layer involves these intensive, long-term servicing schedules and overhauls. These are designed to catch things like metal fatigue and the slow degradation that happens over time.
Take a look at this number, 95%. This is the incredibly exacting standard for a ship's fixed firefighting systems.
Every 2 years, the high-pressure cylinders, for systems like CO2 extinguishers, are either weighed or tested. And if any cylinder has less than 95% of its original charge, it has to be refilled. Immediately. Not 90%, not 80%. In a real emergency, you need every ounce of firefighting power you're supposed to have.
And you can see on this timeline how the intensity just ramps up over the years. So, at the 5-year mark, they're literally taking control valves apart for an internal inspection. They're pressure testing the breathing air cylinders. And then, at the 10-year mark, they subject a sample of the actual fire suppression cylinders to hydrostatic testing, which means pressurizing them way, way beyond their normal limits to guarantee the integrity of the steel itself.
So when you put all of these layers together, the weekly checks, the annual stress tests, the decade-long overhauls, you end up with something that's so much more than just a maintenance schedule. What you really get is a culture of safety.
This entire system is brilliantly designed to create these overlapping layers of protection. The frequent, simple tests ensure immediate readiness. The tough annual inspections, they guarantee reliability when the system is under extreme pressure. And the long-term servicing ensures the fundamental integrity of the equipment for its entire lifespan. It's just a relentless, disciplined, and proven approach to preventing catastrophe.
So the next time you see a massive container ship way out on the horizon, just take a second to remember these unseen guardians, this constant rhythm of checks and tests that keeps it and its crew safe. And it kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other invisible safety nets born from these kinds of meticulous international agreements are out there right now, protecting our world in ways we never even see?